Hello folks, welcome back to Outdoors with Bud. I'm your host, Bud Fields. Hey, I've got some questions from some people that wanted to know the proper way to put line on your reels. So I'm going to have two segments here. I'm going to start out with the spinning rod and reel. Now, years ago, I used to have my wife or one of my two kids sit on the couch, and they would take a pencil and run through the spool like this. And then I would run this line to my fishing rod, then I would crank it. Well, the kids had to hold a pencil, then use their fingers to slow that spool down to where it didn't come off too quick. But they've got devices now that it makes it a lot easier. Now, this is something that I actually picked up at a garage sale here in Galveston, and it's very handy to have, especially if you're sitting by yourself. Now, you can still spool your line by laying your spool on the ground and running it down your fishing line down to your rod guides and onto your spool and then crank it. But you're going to have trouble sometimes with that spool flopping over. With this little device, it's very handy to have, and I'll show you when I get done with it. Now, one thing that it comes with, this little line trimmer right here. It runs off of 2 C-cell batteries. At the very top, it's got a little wheel here. It's actually a hook sharpener. You push the button right here, the little red button. You can hear that running. That little wheel rotates, and you can knock the rust off of any of your hooks. Then right in the center here is actually a spool stripper. Instead of pulling your line off of your reel by hand, which I already done to save time, you can put your line through there and you push that button, and that will automatically take that line off of your spool. Then you can throw it in the wastebasket and dispose of it. But to start out with, I'm going to show you how I use it. Now, what you got to remember when you're doing your spinning rod or reel, you want the line to come off counterclockwise on this. You don't want it to come like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock around this way. You want it to come the opposite way. So I've got this set up, and this is spring loaded. It's got a spring on each side of this and a little attachment nuts and bolts here. You can make it to where that comes in real easy or not hardly at all. Now, the first thing you want to do is right here on the front is you got to put your reel in here. You just got this little long plastic nut here. Your reel just sets back inside of here. Then you tighten it down, and this will hold your reel in place for you while you're working on it. Now, when you get started, the first thing you want to do is this little wire. This is called a bail. You want to flip that down. Okay, then you want to take your line, and it doesn't make any difference how you put this on here, but you need to tie it in some kind of a knot. And I'm putting on 8-pound monofilament line here, which is very small diameter, and I can almost see what I'm doing. But all you need to do is put it on there. Put a double knot, and then cinch it down. Then you can take a pocket knife, you can take fingernail clippers, anything you want, but you need to cut the tag end off. And sometimes when you put this on here, you cut both ends off. Okay, now that line there is attached on it, so you want to make it tight. Then I close that bail. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to start reeling this up and not come loose. So we're going to retie that. Sounds like somebody's mowing their yard out there. Now, how often do you replace your line? That depends on how much fishing you do. When I was fishing a lot of bass tournaments, I was respooling my line about 3 or 4 times a season. Now, if you're only fishing just periodically on the weekends, you might not have to do it that often. But if you're getting out there and you're getting caught up, now then what you're going to be doing, okay, is turning this spool. Now, I don't know how well you can see it, but that other end up there is spinning, and I've got that line coming off the bottom, and it's coming up here on this. Now, you don't want to overspool it. They normally recommend that on your reel, if you get it up too high, get too much line on it, when you go to cast it, it's going to overflow and make a big backlash. You want to keep going till it's about an 1/8 to a 1/16 of an inch from the top of that spool, and then you know you're good enough. Now you can do this a lot faster. I usually like to do it kind of slow, because if I get a knot or something in it, I want to take it out of there right away. Now you can use this for doing monofilament line. You can use it for fluorocarbon. You can also do it for braided line. It makes no difference. Okay, now I've got it just about perfect. So when you get that on there, all you need to do then, you're going to just take your clippers and you're going to clip this off. Now the line is pretty much done on this. Then you just take that off there. You can remount this on your rod, and you're ready to go. Now, most of your reels will tell you, there'll be a little band on it that tells you like what pound line that they recommend you use and how many feet or yards of line that it'll take. So okay, that reel there is done. Now, I told you earlier that when you're done with this, it is very compact. You just take that off. You can push this back on here, and I tighten it down. Then you just raise this up, and it'll actually self-store itself. But here's how you'll have it, just like this. And then when you put your next line on there, you just loosen this up. You bring this out, and here's that little spring. You want that to come against the inside of your spool, and you can put the tension on it to where it won't overrun. Now, if you want to store it like that, you can do it. I usually store mine over there around the desk. I wouldn't recommend, putting it like this, or you can turn it around here just like that and have it ready to go, however you want to do it. But these things are very, very handy, but it's not the only way that you can spool them. But this little thing here is really handy, and I'm going to show you in a little bit how you can, well, matter of fact, I think I've got one right here. A lot of times when you look at your treble hooks, like on this crankbait, there's actually three hooks on one little barb. If you look at that, you can tell if it's dark, it's got rust on it. So what you want to do is simply take this little device here and hold it at the right angle up here, and just kind of brush it against the side of that hook. And you're going to do both sides of it. And if there's any rust remaining on there, it's still going to be dark. But what you want to do is take it, once you get it sharp, and drag it across your fingernail. And if it's sharp, it'll actually dig into your fingernail. If it's dull, it'll slide across, and that's not what you want. But that's one of the advantages of having something like this. Now you can get these anywhere from, I think I've seen them in like Bass Pro Shop. I bought them, or I've seen them on Cabela's. I imagine Dunham Sporting Goods has got them. Any sporting goods store that's got fishing tackle will probably have one like this or very similar to it. I have seen them on eBay for about $30 to $35. But this is something that's going to make your job of respooling your fishing line on your reel spools a lot easier. And I'm not going to say it's going to make it any funner to do, but it depends on how many reels you got. I've got about 40, so I take a lot of line. So hey, I highly recommend you go out. Well, it's even got the Bass Pro Shop logo on it. And on the very bottom, it's got the instructions on how you put your line on there and how to use the hooks and everything. So if you happen to see one at a garage sale, you pick it up for 10 or 15 bucks. I think you made a wise investment, and I don't think you'll ever regret it.